All right, so my computer ran out of memory, so that stopped. So I'm gonna have to make this 2 videos because that's how I roll.
Is no vocabulary that is shared between all of these proposed fundamental theories, but that is also specifically unique to theories of everything. And while I can't prove this, I imagine that ego also had a role to play for pretty much everyone involved. Why acknowledge your competition? But are these theories even really competition? I would say no. Recently, podcasts and YouTube channels like Theories of Everything with Kurt J. Mongol have actually created a ring where those who are working on fundamental theories can converse and compare each other.
Kurt got freaked out by that experience, and now he's gone back to the comfortable place of talking with physicists pretty much exclusively. He just keeps recycling the same people over and over and over, expecting something new to come out. Or maybe he's just doing it because they get a lot of views. And maybe he's not so much after truth anymore, but maybe after views because he wants a new apartment and to have babies.
I do not believe that asking which of these theories is correct is even the correct question. I think that the correct question is to take the theories that are at least coherent enough to start making sense of, and instead of trying to decide which ones are right and which ones are wrong, try and rank order them by fundamentality. The norm within academic and scientific communities is to dismiss any theories that cannot be falsified. We dismiss theories that cannot be falsified because we assume that it means they're wrong or they're useless. But the reality is that any theory that correctly maps fundamental reality.
Any theory that doesn't affect your life directly is useless and irrelevant. If a theory does not lessen your suffering and increase your happiness and peace, then it's useless. Isn't happiness and the end of suffering, wouldn't that be your guide? If you're working on a theory of everything and your life is as average and normal as everyone else with all the problems and all the anxieties and oh, I can't sleep and I'm on medications and all that normal stuff, well then how is it truth? And if it's truth, then truth relating to what? For what purpose? If your life is the same as everyone else's and basically sucks and you're having all these problems and anxieties and worries, then you're not on the path of truth, but on the path of delusion. If it doesn't have a practical application, other than building more technology to suck consciousness into the fucking screen, then it's what's the purpose?
Reality cannot be falsified because it is always true. And it is also not a theory that is ever useless because it's always applicable. Because the pattern that is described within a correct toe is a pattern that can be applied everywhere. And it cannot be proven because a toe that is correct
It's self-evident.
maps a pattern that occurs everywhere and in everything. And it is impossible to test everywhere and everything. This means that you cannot prove that it occurs everywhere and to everything. But if a number of theories, like the theories that I listed, all seem to be confirmable in many instances of objective observation, then we cannot ask which one is correct. Because asking which ones are correct and which ones are wrong is the same thing as asking to falsify or to prove, which we can't do. But that doesn't mean we can't judge them. Proposed theories that are described in a coherent enough fashion to be understood can then be ranked in order of their apparent fundamentality. Ranking proposed toes is not about figuring out who wins and who loses. In fact, doing so allows for these theories to actually contextualize each other. And this...
I don't agree. I think there's only one. There's only one. There's only one correct interpretation of a message. The message is placed for a very specific purpose with a very specific message. Not everyone gets a blue ribbon.
Actually better understand each of these theories and better understand how to apply each of these theories, there are three things that we must look at when ranking these theories. The first one is
There is no
the
ranking.
more that a proposed toe relies on assumptions and models that stem from other theories, the less
If,
fundamental
if
that
something's
it is.
ultimate truth, it can't be partially ultimate truth. Or this one that's different is also ultimate truth. The truth.
Second thing that we need to pay attention to is whether or not the theory is self-contained. This means that the theory itself follows the patterns that are proposed to be the fundamental patterns of reality by the toe, and must include an explanation for such patterns that are described in the theory. And the third attribute that we must look at when ranking theories of everything in terms of their fundamentality is the name. Does the name describe the fundamental nature and foundational structure that is proposed by the theory? For instance, if the name of your theory is geometric unity, but you don't say what is being geometrically united, then the name is not as fundamental as it could be. If the name of your theory is emergence theory, but it doesn't tell you what is emerging, then it is not as fundamental as it could be. The fourth criteria that can be used to judge theories of everything: which theories appear to make specific and credible claims regarding application and experimentation. Theories without any testable proposals regarding experimentation are not nearly as able to provide revolutionary understandings about the nature of the universe, and would therefore not be worth investing as much effort in as the theories that do. The last question that I would like to address is, what is the impact of a theory of everything? Due to the precedent set by string theory, fundamental theories are very often assumed to have little impact outside of abstract mathematics. But
Yeah.
this could not be further from the truth. Revolutionary understandings involving biology, such as heritability, allowed for the domestication of plants and animals and kicked off the agricultural era. Revolutionary understandings in chemistry led to breakthroughs in metallurgy and fossil fuels and kicked off the industrial era. Revolutions
wow,
in
that's
physics
great.
led to fission power plants.
Yeah, so, and where has all this technology led us? To our extinction, which also is expressed or predicted in the model of the number system as a model of the evolution of consciousness. Because after every iteration at the 10, it basically resets. And the resetting that's occurring now is a massive iteration. Basically, the entire, what we would call, I guess, the four-dimensional realm is concluding. And consciousness moving into the digital realm is the 11, and it's my model. Of course, it requires some interpretation, but I don't believe my interpretation is that wild given the conditions of humanity.
And hydrogen bombs, and kicked off the atomic era. Every time
Yeah,
we
that's
understand
great.
the patterns of nature on a more
Technology's
fundamental
great.
level, the application of those patterns is exponentially more impactful. How many applications would stem from understanding?
So here's another thing about technology is that yes, it's there's no doubt that it's lessened the physical suffering, right? We can take a pill to get rid of our headache. We don't freeze in the winter, right? It's lessened physical suffering, undoubtedly. But we can't stop there, because what about the psychological suffering? Well, I make the case, and my theory makes the case, that the degree to which physical suffering has been alleviated and reduced, that's the degree to which the psychological suffering within human consciousness has increased. I think that's a pretty valid little equation there. And if that's the case, then we'd have to come to the conclusion that all these systems of thought and all the technology that's been developed through science and mathematics has done absolutely nothing to decrease the level of suffering within humans, within human consciousness. It's actually increasing, do you not think? So there's that.
Understanding the patterns of theory of everything, and how impactful do you think those applications would be?
Well, I guess that's it. So I agree with a lot of what he said, and I truly believe, like, I see it. It is a fact for me. I can see it like I can see that lake out there. The truth of this and how it applies to actual life. So this is it. This is the concluding model. And again, the interpretation of where this leads may be up for debate, and I'm sure it will be, or just ignored. But what this model says and this theory leads to is enlightenment. That religion the whole time is correct as metaphor, and science is metaphor as well. They just take it to be fact, but it's metaphor. Maya is the same metaphor as simulation theory. It's obviously the same metaphor. So in order to realize that you're God, it is required to pull attention away from the appearances, from thoughts and sensations, and focus on the self, which is the life energy within you, if you wish. But you have to engage in something. You have to turn awareness away from thought and everything that thought has created, which is basically everything that humanity is focused on. It's a redundant, inbred system that we're in, just using our own output as the new input, regurgitating our own creation over and over and over until we've reached a state of complete delusion and madness, and not even realizing how we got here or how deluded and mad we are. So again, or as well, so a message, once it's been properly interpreted, it no longer needs to be investigated any longer, does it? Because it's that aha moment. It tells you something, and once you understand what it's telling you completely, then you just go do it. You don't need to keep going back and trying to interpret it further, because you've got it. You just know. It's like, oh yeah, okay, well that's what I'm supposed to do. So now there's no more need for the message, and the message / theory is dissolved into the experience that is prescribed as the practice. It's all laid out for you. All you have to do is engage in the practice. Look at this. Don't go on your gut. Intuition is far more powerful than logic. Logic can lead you so far, but there always needs to be a leap of faith or intuition to get you, because metaphor assumes or includes with it experience, doesn't it? So this is why truth, ultimate truth, needs to be in the form of metaphor. It can't be just like science is trying to do, is just by logic itself is just going to present itself as being undeniable, and you can accept that as being fundamental ultimate truth. But if it's not a part of your experience, then it's not. You can't understand it completely, because eventually this is the embodiment of you. It's not you're the embodiment of the theory. The theory is the embodiment of you, basically. So you're shown the door, you walk through the door onto the path, and you don't need any more instruction. So this is the instruction. If you want to verify this or refute it, then the experiment must take place in and as your direct experience. And in order to find this, you can't focus on this or this. So engage in spiritual practice instead of being entertained every time you get bored. And just as soon as a thought comes in your head, you've got to go either do it or not do it. Just transcend all of it. Sit in a chair and find your base. Find what it's like when it's just you. Are you freaking out or are you happy? Are you discontent or content? When it's just you doing nothing and thinking nothing, that is your base. This is what life is all about. The purpose, the meaning, the reason for all of this, the meaning of life, the reason for it, the why, is to realize that you're God. What grander journey or could there possibly be? I'm not going to try to convince anymore. It's all laid out. And that's it.